The morning Warren got married, I almost told him. Not about the speech I'd written or the rings I almost lost, but about the words I'd been holding for years. There were moments, quiet ones, when his laugh lingered too long, when his hand brushed mine, when I thought he might already know. But standing behind him at that countryside inn, helping him fix his tie before he said, "I do," I realized something worse than losing him. He'd never been mine to lose. And yet, when his eyes met mine in the mirror, I still wished he was. The inn smelled like pine wood and lavender. Outside, the hills glowed gold under the late morning sun, and inside, everyone was rushing, except me. Warren stood by the window in his suit, looking out like he could see the rest of his life waiting for him beyond the trees. He smiled faintly when he caught me staring. "You look nervous," he said. I laughed softly. "You're the one getting married, not me." He adjusted his cufflinks. "Yeah, but you always were worse at hiding things." If only he knew what I was hiding right now. I'd known Warren since I was 15, back when he was just a boy next door with a crooked smile and a guitar he could barely play. He used to joke that I followed him everywhere. Maybe I did. From summer bonfires to late-night drives, every memory had him in it. Now, I was supposed to stand beside him while he promised forever to someone else. The thought made my chest ache. "Speech ready?" he asked. "Almost." I lied. Because how do you write a best man speech when every word you want to say starts with "I love you"? He walked over, handed me a tie clip. "You're shaking," he said quietly. "Cold hands," I replied. He smiled. "Still lying." For a second, we just stood there, his fingers brushing mine, brief and unintentional. At least that's what he'd tell himself. I wanted to say something, anything to break the tension, but before I could, the door opened. His fiancée's sister peeked in, cheeks flushed. "They're waiting, Warren." He nodded, but his eyes stayed on me. And in that look, half smile, half question, I almost found the courage to tell him everything. Almost. The ceremony was small, elegant, and too perfect. The kind of wedding that made people believe in things I'd stopped believing in. Warren looked calm as he stood under the oak tree, sunlight spilling across his face. When the music started, I turned my head toward the aisle, forcing a smile. She walked toward him, beautiful in white, every step echoing louder in my chest. I kept my gaze steady, because if I didn't, I'd fall apart. Warren's eyes flicked to mine once before he took her hand, and that one look said everything we'd never said aloud. The vows felt endless. Every word, forever, always, love, stabbed a little deeper, not because I wanted to ruin anything, but because I wanted to remember how it felt to love someone this much and never say it. When he slipped the ring onto her finger, the crowd cheered. I did too, but my hands trembled so hard I almost dropped the bouquet I was holding. Afterward, during the photos, he kept glancing at me. Once he even whispered, "You okay?" I nodded, because the truth would have ruined him. And I couldn't be the reason he doubted the life he'd chosen. The reception was loud, laughter, music, the clinking of glasses, but I barely heard any of it. When it was time for my speech, my heart felt like it was breaking in rhythm with every step I took. I looked at him, standing there with his arm around his bride, my best friend, my almost, Warren. I began, voice trembling. "You've always been the kind of person who makes others feel seen." He smiled softly. I swallowed, and I hope you never forget how rare that is. Everyone clapped. He didn't look away once, not even when his eyes started to shine. After the speech, I slipped outside for air. The countryside night was quiet, soft music echoing from inside the inn. The sky stretched wide above me, stars scattered like they'd been painted just for him. I didn't expect him to follow, but he did. He stepped onto the porch, jacket off, tie loosened. "You always run when things get too real," he said. I turned to him. "And you always follow." He smiled faintly. Some habits don't change. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was everything. And when his hand brushed mine again, neither of us pulled away. Warren didn't say anything at first. He just stood beside me, both of us watching the moonlight ripple across the field like it was too beautiful to ruin with words. Finally, he whispered, You know, I could always tell when something was wrong with you. I smiled weakly. Yeah. He nodded. Except tonight. I can't read you at all. I exhaled, watching my breath fade into the cold air. Maybe that's a good thing, I said. But even as I said it, my voice cracked, and he heard every piece of the truth I was trying to hide. He turned to face me. Why do I feel like you're saying goodbye? Because maybe I am. He frowned. You're not going anywhere. Maybe I should, I said softly. You have your life now, Warren. You don't need me in the middle of it anymore. He took a small step closer, confusion flickering across his face. You think that's what I want? I think, I whispered, you've always wanted the right thing, and I've never been it. He shook his head like he was trying to undo the moment itself. Don't say that. But I already had. The night air felt heavy, not cold, not warm, just full of everything we'd never said. He reached for my wrist, but stopped before touching. If you're going to leave, he said quietly, at least tell me why it hurts this much. Because you were supposed to be mine first, I said. His lips parted slightly, like he wanted to speak, but couldn't find the words. When he finally did, his voice was barely there. I didn't know, he said. I didn't want you to. For a long second, all we did was breathe, standing in a truth neither of us could take back. He took another step closer. I should have known, he murmured, the way you looked at me all these years. It doesn't matter now, I said, though my voice shook. You're married. You made your choice. He swallowed hard. And if I told you that part of me wishes I hadn't? The words hit harder than any confession I could have imagined. I looked up at him, heart pounding. Don't say that, Warren. Why not? Because I'll believe you. He stared at me like the answer was already written in my eyes. And maybe for a moment it was. When he finally reached out, his hand found mine, gentle, steady, familiar. We didn't move closer. We didn't need to. The silence between us was louder than any promise. I'll miss you, he said. You don't have to. I think I do, he whispered. Some people, you just don't stop missing. A small smile tugged at my lips. Then make me a good memory, not a regret. He nodded, eyes glistening. You already are. And for a heartbeat that stretched too long, it almost felt like enough. The next morning, I woke to the sound of birds outside my window. The wedding had ended, the guests were gone, and so was he. A note sat on the nightstand, short, folded neatly. I opened it slowly, tracing every word like it might disappear if I blinked. You were my first something too. Not love, maybe, but something that'll never leave me. W. I smiled, the ache dull but real. He'd given me closure, even if it hurt. And somehow, that felt like the kindest kind of goodbye. Before I left the inn, I stood under that same oak tree where he'd said his vows. The chairs were gone, the grass still flattened where everyone had stood. I closed my eyes, imagining him there again, smiling sure, certain. And this time, I didn't wish to change it. Because maybe some people aren't meant to be our first love or our last, just the reason we believe in both. As I walked down the dirt road toward my car, the morning light hit my face. For the first time in years, I didn't look back.